Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the GC Informer. I'm Snowy, otherwise known as Count Dracula, bringing you a Pokemon-themed special. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Pokemon has had a big year in the last couple of years. It's had Detective Pikachu, the game came out last year. Pokemon Go's had a big resurgence in popularity. Detective Pikachu, the movie, came out very recently. It's actually very good. I enjoyed it a lot. And continuing along that theme, a lot of Pokemon-themed announcements came out yesterday in a Nintendo Direct themed around Pokemon, funnily enough, and I'm going to go through those with you now. For those of you who wanted news about Pokemon Sword and Shield, nearly got that wrong, then you will have to wait. Unfortunately, they have announced they will be doing a Nintendo Direct on the 5th of June, based entirely around Pokemon Sword and Shield, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested in those games, which I'm very interested, and that's going to be good. But otherwise, though, announcements have been given for various things of different amounts of interest, starting with a vague announcement of a sequel game to Detective Pikachu. For those of you who don't know, the film Detective Pikachu was based on a 3DS game called Detective Pikachu, funnily enough, that came out last year. It was received quite well. There's a few differences in the plot. I'm not going to give anything away, obviously, but yeah, a few changes in the plot here and there to the game and the movie. But a sequel has been announced that will be released on the Switch. It does very much seem like the 3DS is coming to the end of its lifespan, and Nintendo are focusing most of their energy on the Switch now. Really don't blame them in some regards, to be perfectly honest. It makes a lot more sense now compared to what it used to be. So yeah, basically that's all we know about that bit, though. There's nothing concrete about it. We don't know anything else other than the fact that it's going to be happening. So Detective Pikachu 2 will be, I believe, next year. Well, I think that's what they've said, but they've not really confirmed a date. Anyway, next thing. Now, for those of you who are more of a big fan of Pokemon overall in the series, you're going to be interested in this. A strange thing called Pokemon Home has been announced, and this is going to be a way of merging all of the sort of cloud-based systems into one. Now, at the moment, you have Pokemon Bank, which is a $4.99 a year subscription to basically store all of your Pokemon and be able to transfer them from the old games to the most recent ones in like a big store. Basically, it's a big storage box for Pokemon, pretty much. That's all it is. I pay it myself because I use Pokemon enough that that's a thing that I require. It's like a $5 a year. It's nothing. But now there was a bit of a question over whether or not Pokemon from Generation 7 backwards were going to be able to be transferred over to the new games. Obviously, a change in console, like massive change in console, requires that sort of question, because beforehand you had it a little bit easier. The Generation 3 to 4 transition was nice and easy, even though they were on different consoles entirely, because they had, there was a slot, a Game Boy slot in the DS that you could just have both of them in at the same time. That was nice and easy. Generation 4 to 5 were both on the same console, so you could just go DS to DS. Generation 6 to 7, or Generation 5 to 6, technically a different console, but the games are backwards compatible, so you could just have a single unit and it would work fine. And now, you know, Gen 6 to Gen 7, that was just, you know, a one-way transfer. Once you put it from Pokemon Bank onto a Gen 7 game, it couldn't go back to a Gen 6 game. Gen 7 Pokemon couldn't go onto a Gen 6 game either. That made sense. And now, because it's such a change in architecture, like there's no way to put a DS game into a Switch, there was a bit of a question over whether or not you'd be able to transfer Pokemon, but the answer has finally come through. Yes, you will be able to. And I will get into all of that. It's a little bit complicated, and I will put a graph that the Pokemon Company handily supplied on screen. I will walk you through it. It seems that Pokemon Home will be a sort of central hub for everything. The only thing that we'll be able to transfer to is going to be the new games, Sword and Shield, but you will be able to transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Bank on your 3DS system into this new ecosystem here, Pokemon Home. You will also be able to transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Go onto this system if you wanted to put those onto your new game, if you had one that you're particularly proud of. You can also transfer from Pokemon Let's Go, the Let's Go games from last year. You'll be able to use that and transfer them from there. And then you will also be able to transfer to and from Pokemon Sword and Shield. So basically anything you put on that system will only be able to go to Sword and Shield, which does kind of throw into question the whole thing about being able to transfer from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Let's Go. But maybe they're just keeping that as their own separate ecosystem for now, or maybe they'll try and integrate it somehow. Not overly clear, but on the other hand, what else can they really do with that? So that's basically the gist of Pokemon Home. It's going to be a way to get Pokemon from all your different, like all your mainline games and the side games into Generation 8 games, which means that the cycle, the progression cycle of being able to transfer something from Generation 3 all the way over to Generation 8 has not been broken yet, which is amazing when you think about it. You can have Pokemon that you literally had, what is it now, 15 years ago? 16 years even. 2002. 17 years. God, I feel old. From Pokemon Ruby. You can have had a Pokemon from that long ago and still be able to have it on the most recent games, which is one of the most forward-thinking, amazing things that they have done in this franchise when you think about it. I like that. But anyway, let's move on to the next announcement. There's quite a few of these. For those of you who like Pokemon Go specifically though, we have a little special thing around that, and it's a thing called Pokemon Sleep, which is a bit of a strange thing. Pokemon Sleep is oh god, this is a weird, confusing thing, but let's try and digest it. We don't know much about it. We know that it's going to be released in 2020, but we don't really know much about it other than what it's purporting itself to be. We don't know any specifics on how it's going to work, but let's try. It's basically going to be I believe it's a phone app, but it also might not be. It's tethered to Pokemon Go, and it's a sleep tracker, but it can also be tethered to a new device which tethers to Pokemon Go and trains your Pokemon in your sleep, maybe? Yeah, it's a bit weird. Basically, it's going to be a sleep tracker, and you tether it to your Pokemon Go account, and that tracks your sleep, basically. So it works like a lot of smartwatches do when they track your, like when you're in REM sleep, or when you are not sleeping at all, or when you're in like the sort of half sleep bit. And it's going to be using that data to train Pokemon, maybe. Basically, the way they're marketing it is saying it's going to be a gaming experience like no other. And I do kind of believe them, I'm going to be honest in this instance. But it will come at the same time as the launch of a new Pokemon Go themed accessory, the Pokemon Go Plus Plus. I believe that's what it's called. I know the plus plus bit is correct. It's a plus, the word plus, followed by a plus symbol. Yeah, bit weird. Basically, that's going to have the added functionality with the sleep tracker, because at the moment the Pokemon Go Plus device doesn't have that. It's basically just an accelerometer, and like a notifier, whereas this is more of a actual thing. Fuck. What am I explaining to people? What is this? That's basically all we know about it though. Well, we do know it's coming out in 2020. It's going to be a sleep tracker that trains Pokemon for you. Go figure. But as a result, they're having an event now in Pokemon Go right now where there's loads of Snorlax appearing to celebrate this. That's the weirdest one of the bunch, I'm going to be honest. And the final thing that we are going to talk about in this slew of Pokemon announcements is another mobile game for the Pokemon franchise. This time it's called Pokemon Masters. And again, we don't know a huge amount of information about this. We're going to know a bit more in June, but this is more to do with the announcement. And this is basically going to be... It's not a full Pokemon RPG. but it's more a traditional Pokemon game in a sense, the closest sort of traditional experience we've got on mobile. It will actually feature battling, and you can battle against and alongside famous sort of trainers from the series. There'll be like gym leaders or some of the more prominent characters in the series you'll be able to fight against or alongside. And it's going to be developed by the same people who made Animal Crossing Pocket Camp and Super Mario Run. The former of that makes me very nervous, the latter makes me not too annoyed about it. It depends what they're doing with it. They could turn it into some sort of microtransaction hell, and I really hope that they don't. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, Pokemon Sleep is being made by the people who made Magikarp Jump. If you remember that, that's a fucking shit show. Like pay to win grindy bollocks. But yeah, this is a thing that's happening, and that's all we know really. All we know is it's going to be a Pokemon battler, and from the trailer, you could battle with as a Pikachu or with a Pikachu against other Pokemon, and it's doing damage. But like I say, it's a thing. It's going to be on mobile. You're going to be battling against other trainers. Like, it seems to be a single-player game. That's all we know so far. But other than that, we don't really know a huge amount. Expect more information on that in June. And that is it for the Pokemon announcements. It was a very big sort of chunk of information. In fact, this has been running for, minus a couple of pauses, 15 minutes of my recording time. So let us wrap up the show. If you're expecting Death Stranding news, that will be tomorrow, but otherwise, thank you. Or yesterday, actually. Depends what order I'm going to do these in. We'll see. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this episode of the GC Informer, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, and share whatever you fancy. Our social links are down in the description with a link to our Discord. And stay tuned to GameCast for news, reviews, podcasts, lots of great gaming content, and I will see you soon for something else.